Good evening, everybody. I'm Roy Firestone, and this is Up Close Classic. Tonight, a true classic. Harry Christopher Carabina, better known to his legion of fans as Harry Caray. Harry Caray spent 53 years in the broadcast booth, first as the voice of the St. Louis Cardinals, then with Oakland, before becoming a 27-year fixture in Chicago, with both the White Sox and finally the Cubs. During his first 41 years broadcasting baseball, he never missed a game, and all told, he announced more than 8,300 games. Caray was colorful, outspoken, and rarely at a loss for words.
I'm proud of the fact, the item you mentioned, I never have missed a time at bat. Not a half inning, not a day of a game I was supposed to do. And much is made over about my style of living. Well, all I know is a lot of guys that don't drink booze and a lot of guys that get 10 hours sleep every day don't show up for work. They got a headache, they got pneumonia, they got leukemia, whatever. Something they got that keeps them from working. Now, the way I live, either I'm indestructible or maybe I'm living the right kind of life. I always say the reason my longevity is the fact that I live a clean, healthy, wholesome, normal life.
If there's one thing that's intriguing about you, Harry, it's your passion for the game. You don't have to be a Harry Caray fan to admit the fact that when you call a game, it comes from the heart. I'm going to roll up the videotape and show you a game back in 1979 when you were calling one for the White Sox in extra innings. Listen.
There's a long drive. It's going to be out of here. Holy cow. Holy cow. How about it? What did I tell you? 3 runs in a hurry.
The polka, Harry. Play the polka.
They're dancing in the streets in Chicago.
Look at the fans going home.
Look at the mass exodus. Holy cow.
You enjoy this game so much. I want to know how much of an extension of yourself is in this game. I mean, really, if you took baseball away from Harry Caray, you'd be taking a great deal out.
Oh, that's, of course. That's why I'm working. I don't know what I'd do if I wasn't broadcasting baseball. I love it. And, you know, after being the broadcaster for the St. Louis Cardinals 25 years, and thinking I was going to get a gold watch and getting a pink slip instead, I looked with trepidation to going to another city and broadcasting for another team. I thought that it was the Cardinals that I was so much in love with. And it just proved to me what now has become one of the most important lessons I ever learned by leaving the Cardinals, going to Oakland. I found myself as enthused about Reggie Jackson, then only 21 years old, Sal Bando, Joe Rudy, Don Mincherts, Catfish Hunter, Raleigh Fingers. You know, that's when I realized it's the game. It doesn't make any difference who's playing. I'll bet you if I did a Little League game, I would be just as excited. And the other thing about it, that's the way the fans are. I think if I'm an extension of anything, I'm an extension of the fan. I'll bet you if you put a microphone in front of the fan out there at Dodger Stadium tonight, for example, his voice pattern would be the same as mine. You would get the disgust, you'd get the ecstasy, you'd get the exuberance, you'd get the depression, you'd get the petty peeviness, if there is such a word. You know,
you could create your own words.
Yeah, right, why not? This is the way it is. I mean, I'm a fan. I love baseball. I love all baseball. I've never seen a ball player I didn't like.
Quickly, the game of baseball, if you could sum it up.
Oh, it's life. It's life itself. I'm sure that other more learned men can give you a better description of it, Bill Veeck being one of them. But to me, it is it's the zenith of what you can get out of life. But number one, it's a Horatio Alger story. Almost every guy you see out there is doing something that every kid somewhere in this great land of ours aspires to do someday.
In 40 years, this stat may be in the Ripley's, believe it or not, he has never missed a single inning of a baseball game. 40 years. There's a great anecdote, Harry, about the fact that when you were in St. Louis, you were involved in an accident. In fact, I think a car hit you.
That's right.
There was a severe doubt as to whether you'd even make it to the broadcast booth that season, but tell the story about opening day and the question in everyone's mind.
Well, you know, I had crutches all through spring training. Now opening day, 50,000 people at Bush Memorial Stadium, and I walk out with canes. Well, you know, I hadn't used canes for 2 weeks. But there's a certain amount of show business in this business. So I get out to the first base line with these canes, you know, and and I stop and I look around at the crowd and I throw one of the canes up and the crowd goes bananas. Now I continue to walk with one cane, the microphone's on the pitcher's mound. I'm going to preside over the opening day ceremonies, and before I get to the microphone, I stop, I look around at the crowd, and I throw the other cane away. Oh boy, a standing ovation, a big roar. And now, after I leave the field, I'm in the dugout, and Bob Gibson, who was the star pitcher of the Cardinals, said to me, Harry, he said, you were walking without canes 2 weeks ago. What is all this stuff? I said, it's showbiz, Gibby.
Still to come an up-close classic, Harry weighs in on the Pete Rose controversy.
I just can't believe that Pete Rose would bet on baseball. There's so many other things to bet on.
Boy, if it had come down, I'd have had it. Well, that's baseball.
Welcome back to Up Close Classic. I'm Roy Firestone. For more than a half-century, Harry Caray was baseball in the Midwest. Before cable, before satellites, there was Harry. And in 1989, the Baseball Hall of Fame finally recognized Caray for his many accomplishments.
Hey, what took them so long, honestly, in bringing you into the Hall of Fame? You had to wait too long. And for a while there, you told Skip Caray, that, you know, if I'm gone and they want to do it posthumously, I don't think I want to be part of the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I don't know what took so long. I never even thought about it, Roy. I considered it like joining a fraternity. If they invite you, you join. If they don't invite you, they don't. All the other broadcasters who are there are good friends of mine, contemporaries of mine. I was tickled to death every time one of them went in, but I never thought of it from an individual basis until guys like you began to ask me the last few years when it became quite obvious that, somebody had it against me.
I'm wondering if tact didn't have something to do with
well,
it.
I
You
don't know.
say the things
I may have stepped on somebody's toes.
Right.
But let me tell you something. If the same thing happened again, and I don't know what it is that I stepped on their toes about, but the only reason I stepped on their toes is because I felt deeply about what I was talking
All right,
about.
let's take one. How about Bowie Kuhn, the commissioner of baseball, is a joke. You've said that.
No, I didn't.
No?
Here's what I said
Okay.
about Bowie Kuhn. I thought what he did to Charlie Finley was actually criminal.
Okay. That's not discreet, though, for an announcer to say that. Maybe you didn't make friends there.
Well, ask me about Pete Rose, and I'll really curl your hair for you.
How about Pete Rose, Harry?
What has he done? Can't you imagine a guy betting on horses or dogs and never bet on a game of baseball? They talk about betting slips. I know a lot of bookies. I've never seen a bookie put a betting slip in his pocket. They tear it up. That's evidence in case the cops come around. Now, did you hear what Sam Dash, the Watergate prosecutor, said when asked? He said, if one of my investigators sent me a report like this, based all on hearsay, I'd have fired him right on the spot. Let's analyze a case against Pete Rose. Everything is hearsay.
Let me ask it to you this way, Harry. Let me ask it to you this way. If it is proven that he did bet baseball, would you then change your tune? Would you then say Pete Rose should be banned from the game?
I don't know what's wrong with betting on your own team to win, if he did that. If he bet on his team to lose, I'd ban him from baseball for life. I just can't believe that Pete Rose would bet on baseball. There's so many other things to bet on.
All right, if it's proven then that he did bet on
Well,
baseball.
why do you give me all these ifs and ands? You're doing the same
We're
thing
having
baseball.
conversation,
You're doing
Harry.
the same thing the baseball's doing. All hearsay. You said evidence. There's no evidence yet.
I want to talk about one of the knocks on you, and we'll debate this for a few moments. One of them is...
Now, wait a minute. Is this hearsay or is that...
How about the homer charge?
Hey, we're human beings. If I'm such a homer, and that's why I asked you whether it was hearsay, if I'm such a homer, how come at the end of every year my job is at stake? Because the owner maybe doesn't like what I said, the general manager doesn't like what I say, the field manager may not like what I say, the star players may not like. I must be trying to tell it like it really is.
Well, talk about tell it like it really is. Tell the Bill Melton story when he was with the White Sox. You were playing him up when he was going good, but when he deserved criticism, you gave it to him. What did he do to you? He came up to you and confronted you, right?
Oh, yeah, but there's nothing unusual about that. The other ball players have confronted me. I didn't like it because Bill Melton, I had tried to show my friendship to him with various things. as things turned out, the reason he wasn't performing anymore was that he had a serious back ailment. They traded him to the Angels, only 10 minutes from his home, where he wanted to go if he was traded. They released him. They sent him to Siberia baseball, maybe it still is, Cleveland. And he didn't last there with the team that was in last place. So I think finally, I know I saw him later, he finally admitted that his skills had deteriorated.
It's the toughest thing for a ball player to admit, that maybe he doesn't have it anymore, and you're willing to do that in the booth, and they don't like it sometimes.
When you heard Scully say that we're trained to see it with our eyes, so is it when they can't perform. We don't give the ball player an error, the scorer gives him an error. And we talk about the error. Sometimes we don't think he should have an error. But still, the criticism is given by a unprejudiced observer upstairs who thinks the play wasn't made right.
You know, that's one of the great things about baseball, the diversity of opinion.
That's why that's a game you can talk about all year long. When football season is over, very little conversation about it until it starts again. Right. But baseball, 12 months of the year, the baseball guy goes up to the bar and he's talking to the bartender, well, if we can get a third baseman, we might win this year. That's what it's all about.
When we come back, Harry meets the king.
The phone rings and I pick it up, and Harry Caray, yes, you know, this a fan of yours? Well, you know, and you want to talk about the Cardinals, so forth, and you know, Harry, this is Elvis. Yeah, sure, Elvis, you know. And finally, Elvis Presley. I said, don't give me that stuff.
I want to know about your suspenders.
Don't you think these are pretty good?
Over the years, Harry has developed quite a following, as you might understand. Frank Sinatra's a big fan. Richard Daley, of course, the late mayor of Chicago was. Bill Cosby still is. Tom Bosley. And a certain rock and roll singer from Memphis was a big fan of Harry Caray. You got to tell this story about Elvis.
Well, it is sort of a funny story in a way. The St. Louis Hawks were owned by Ben Kerner, and in Memphis they had built a new football stadium and also a field house. And the Hawks played 12 consecutive Monday night games, and we televised them back into St. Louis. I think Ben Kerner was trying to test the market. And so I'd go down there, fly down there on Monday morning and do the game Monday night and come back. Well, one Monday afternoon, I'm in my hotel room, and the phone rings, and I pick it up, and Harry Caray, yes, you know, this a fan of yours? Well, you know, and you want to talk about the Cardinals, so forth, and you know, Harry, this is Elvis. Yeah, sure, Elvis, you know, and finally, Elvis Presley. I said, don't give me that stuff. Harry, he said, this is Elvis Presley. He said, you're in my town. Oh, I said, cut it out. He said, if you'll come out in front of your hotel in 10 minutes, I'll prove it to you. I said, okay. Go down in front of the hotel. Here comes the Rolls Royce. Out jumps Elvis Presley, shakes hands. I get in the car, go over to his house, and sit around and talk with him. Now it's time to go to the arena to do the basketball game. And I'm thinking, boy, what a coup this would be to have Elvis Presley alongside of me.
What a color man.
Right. Huh? And I'm talking to him. He said, Harry, I'd be happy to do it for you. He said, but you know what would happen if I did it? I said, no, what? He said, if I walked into that new field house, he said, they'll wreck the joint. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do. He says, I know when your broadcast ends. He said, we get it here. And he says, we'll pick you up 10 minutes after the game is over. All right. Game is over. Elvis picks, not Elvis, but one of his fellows picks me up in a Cadillac, takes me out to the house. We sit around, just to show you the sensitivity of the guy. We sit around drinking, laughing. He sings songs, all this stuff. And suddenly he says, Harry, he says, when could you have had dinner? I said, well, I didn't. He said, that's right. You were here until 6:30. He went right over to the field house. He said, you couldn't have eaten. He said, I'll bet you're starved. He says, you like barbecue ribs? I said, yeah. He says, okay. He gets on the phone. There's a place called a Rendezvous. I later became a regular customer. They bring a barrel of barbecue ribs. I sit around till 5, 6 in the morning eating barbecue ribs and chit-chatting with Elvis Presley. All right, now a couple of years go by, and I'm in Las Vegas. I see up on the marquee at the Riviera, Elvis Presley. And I say to myself, well, he's a wonderful guy, but I'm just going to find out if he used me. Because a lot of these guys, none of the fellows you've mentioned, but a lot of fellows want to plug their record or their new movie or something, you know. It's always a self-serving appearance. So I go into the Riviera, and I gave the maitre d' there a little note to Elvis that I was out in the lobby. Well, I'm at the table, and here comes this announcement. Harry Caray, please come to such and such a phone. I go over there and it's Elvis. He said, where are you? I said, I'm in the lobby. He said, why aren't you back here? I said, I don't know how to get there. Stay right there. Some guy comes over, takes me backstage, you know, and he was just as nice then 2 years later as he'd been before. But that was Elvis Presley, a great St. Louis Cardinal fan.
The story that I hear, the story that I hear is that when President Reagan called you, you had a nice friendly chat, but when Bobby Dernier got on base, you hung up on it. Hey, Mr. President, Bobby Dernier just got on base.
No, I said, no, I didn't. I was very, very, very much touched by the call. And it was just, you know, the first day back, and all kinds of things happened. I'll tell you a little bit later on, if you have time, about the singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." But the president was so nice, and you know, how in the world, with all the things on his mind, he'd think of calling. And I was very, very touched by that. But the game was going on, and Bobby Dernier had just laid down the bunt. And I said, Mr. President, I really appreciate your calling, but I got to get back to the ball game. Bobby Dernier just beat on a bunt.
Coming up on Up Close Classic,
Hey! Walking foot backwards is stuff a cow.
With his oversized glasses and oversized personality, Harry Caray had his own unique way of broadcasting a baseball game. That uniqueness spawned a generation of Harry impersonators.
Who does the best Harry Caray impression?
Johnny Bench does a good one.
Really?
Yeah, and a lot of people imitate me. I don't know whether that's because I'm so bad or what, but are so easy to do. But they say imitation is the better part of flattery, isn't it?
You bet, absolutely. What we're going to do now, Harry, is for your benefit, for all of us, these gentlemen are going to give us their insights as to how to do a good Harry Caray impression, okay? Let's start with Todd. Let me get your basic instincts, and your inspiration, of course, started because you grew up in Indiana, right?
Northwest Indiana, and the first time I met Harry was center field when he broadcast one of the White Sox games from center field.
Okay, so you immediately, you were drawn to the voice, and you were drawn to the impression.
The best trade the White Sox ever made was they traded their announcers to Oakland to get Harry Caray.
That's right. Okay, so give me the basic key ingredients to a good Harry impression.
The tongue.
The tongue.
Okay, you got to have a big tongue.
A big tongue.
Okay, you got to have a big, fat tongue in your mouth. Okay, to do Harry Caray.
Okay, give us a little.
All right. Harry Caray back at the ballpark. Here's Sandberg. You get the tongue there. Sandberg. Here's Sandberg, and here's the pitch. That wouldn't be a home run in a telephone booth.
You know, I don't like your Monday Night Live either.
Well, let me get another side of it now. Here's a gentleman who's made a career off of you, Harry, partially.
I've heard him do it a lot.
Now,
And
Johnny,
with each doing, he gets better and better.
Johnny, I want to talk a little bit about what you look for, what the essence of the Harry Caray impression is.
Well, first of all, you have to get excited over the little things.
Oh, little things.
You know, all of a sudden stuff just hits Harry in the booth. Out of nowhere, you're watching a game and you hear,
Hey! Check out the kid with the sombrero. That's a good-looking youngster. Hey, don't forget Friday night's midget night here at Wrigley. Anybody accompanying a legal midget gets in free. And let's refrain from what the kids were doing last year, tossing little guys over the wall to let their buddies in. Remember, only one midget per customer. Hey! Hey!
Now what about? Do you say hey a lot? I don't know. Is it a lot of hey?
No. No, I never say hey. Jack Brickhouse used to say hey.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Now let me ask you another question, gentlemen. Maybe you have some insight. What is the thing with Harry and the microphone? Harry likes to swing the microphone. Is that from doing Take the...
In post-game shows, especially when he's doing the White Sox games, Chicken Unlimited was a big sponsor, okay? And he'd hold that microphone like a big drumstick in front of him. Hey, everybody, I'll be going out to Chicken Unlimited after the game. And after that, we'll see you at Butch McGuire's. So long, everybody.
Don't forget the bottle of Budweiser. With the chicken, right?
Because you're a Bud man and a Cub fan.
you got to get the laugh.
Yeah.
The laugh
Do
is
you get the
what's
laugh
great.
down, too?
Yeah, because he likes to laugh at
Yeah.
his own jokes.
Okay.
Hey! Walking foot backwards is stuff a cow.
How about Winnemucca? Dykstra, spelled backwards, comes out on Sky.
Harry, you like to start out a lot of sentences with, here's a guy. And he gets into these, I just can't figure it out, Jags. And here's a guy, Dave Concepcion, who grew up in the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico, one of the islands where the sun shines 365 days a year, and he misses a pop-up in the sun. I just can't figure it out.
I really can't.
What is it that inspired you? Maybe one of the reasons you got into this business for this guy right here.
Absolutely, because he was the type of guy who said it is exactly what was on your mind. You know, you'd see a guy in the batter's box, and Harry would say something like, I don't know how he can hit a ball with a stance like that. Absolutely has nothing to do with the play-by-play of the game, but as you're a fan watching the guy in the batter's box, you know, he would say it. He would say it.
The honesty
The
and
absolute,
the passion, too.
The absolute honesty.
You know, John, that's true. You cannot find more passion behind that mic, more love for the game than Harry's love.
Well, it's the genuineness, I think, that comes through. The fun and the enthusiasm just, you know, just comes through so much. And that rubs off on you. And you watch the game, and you're like, you're with your buddy, and you think, this guy could be right at the bar with you watching the game. And that's how he announces the game. It's the honesty. It really is.
You know, actually, that is exactly it. I'll bet you could put a microphone around the neck of anybody. His voice pattern, I mean a fan sitting in the bleachers, in the grandstand, box seat, his voice pattern be the same as mine. He'd be ecstatic when something good happens, depressed as heck when something bad happens, and it all shows. And this is what I say when people talk to me about my style. I describe it as a style of a great fan of the game.
You bet, yeah.
And when I go to the ballpark, I never want to say anything critical about anybody. But when they let a ground ball roll through their legs and tying a winning run score, or when the great team hitter gets up with the bases loaded, a long fly would tie it, strikes out, I've never found a way to make a good hitter sound good striking out when it'll cost you the ball game.
Take me out to the ball game. Take
Harry Caray died in February of 1998 at the age of 83. He was a true original, a larger-than-life character whose memory lives on with fans everywhere. I'm Roy Firestone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Up Close Classic.